NFL draft only a couple weeks away now. And we're going to get the latest here from Dan Shanka from Ourlads.com. They have a big draft preview every year, and you can find that there. And we'll talk to Dan right now here on Ruskin and Zach. Good afternoon. How are you, Dan?
Real good, guys. Yeah, it won't be long now, a couple weeks here before we find out how many quarterbacks are going in the top 10.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, you watch the tape and everything. I don't know how many of these quarterbacks in the top 10 can play. I mean, maybe one or two, but I think there's going to be a lot of swings and misses here. What do you think?
Well, I tell you what, that's generally true. You know, I mean, 50% of them pan out, and now we're talking 5, so maybe we'll have 3 or 5, but right now, it goes for about every position. I mean, there's holes in a lot of these guys, but, you know, when you got a quarterback, Trey Lance, terrific talent, but he's only played 1 year, you know, you really don't know. And, you know, Mac Jones from Alabama, excellent touch and accuracy and all that, but again, you know, he's played like 15 or 16 games, same, you know, with Justin Fields. And, you know, Lawrence, of course, he's got his 3 years in. And, you know, so, you know, we're just going to have to see how this plays out. And then, you know, a lot of people fall in love with Zach Wilson, and he's played against probably the worst competition of all of them. So, you know, I mean, it's there's a lot of holes out there in this cheese.
Dan, I got to ask you, I'm not a Zach Wilson fan at all. And I think he'll be the biggest bust in this draft. And it has nothing to do with the kid himself. It just has everything to do with what you just said. He hasn't played stiff competition. And when he played, he was good. But I look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Okay, that's a sure thing. I know what I see with him. Why is everybody in love with Zach Wilson?
I don't know. I can't tell you that because he's our fourth. I mean, I could have probably put Trey Lance ahead of him too. You know, he's our fourth-rated quarterback, and you know, of course, you know, some Jet fans out there, they go crazy. Oh, this is the next coming. Well, I heard that 3 years ago on Sam Darnold when I told you guys he couldn't play. You know what I mean? Because he's a turnover machine, and he's a linebacker playing quarterback. And so, you know, I think that Zach Wilson, he does throw a nice ball and all that, but you know, there's so much more to playing quarterback than just, you know, throwing that ball down the field. And frankly, I think that against certain teams he did throw the ball well, but, you know, he's never seen really like an SEC secondary or anybody. You know, he might not have played against a defensive back in a secondary that's even going to play in the NFL. You know, he played against six Power 5 teams, and he was 2-4 against those teams, and you know, and didn't look good doing it. So I'm kind of with you. You know, I'm just he could be bust number 1.
There seems, I mean, obviously we've identified the 4, and one of the guys that draws a lot of interest around here in particular, it feels like somebody's going to get a steal. You know, there's all this bum rush to get these 4 guys, and then there's going to be a gap. And somebody's going to get either a late second day, third day guy, a guy like a Feleipe Franks who played here at Arkansas, played at Florida. What is sort of your evaluation of where Feleipe Franks is coming off his year at Arkansas?
Well, he did some really good things. He athletic, you know, the arm strength and all that. And I think the big thing is it's going to come down to the mental part of the game. You know, being able to, when he sees it out there, can he cut loose that ball? Will he zip it right by the, ear hole of a defensive back? You know, does he hesitate too much when he throws? You know, there's the athletic part of it's not the problem. His strong arm is not the problem, you know, and because he does have accuracy, he shows a good trajectory, you know, on the ball and things. But I think it's the mental part of it that, you know, the quick synapse from your brain to your hand, boom, can he get it out? I see it, boom, it's got to go. And but I think that, I mean, to us, you know, he is a developmental quarterback that, hopefully will improve once he gets in the league.
You've done this longer than most of us have been around. And I mean, you've seen more quarterbacks and evaluated more quarterbacks than a lot of people that do this for a living. I've seen Zach Wilson's grades. I've seen Trevor Lawrence's grades. Where does he compare, Trevor Lawrence in particular, with guys? The highest grade I've ever seen was Elway and Marino and those. I mean, the guys that were the elite of the elite coming out of college.
Well, I actually evaluate probably every good quarterback in the last 30 years or so out there, and I think the thing Trevor Lawrence that he reminds me of more than anything is kind of a more athletic Peyton Manning. Because he kind of reminded me, Peyton was in my area when he was at Tennessee, and I was with the Eagles then. And anyway, he just, the way they throw the ball over the top, and I guess that shouldn't be surprising because I think Trevor has been going to the Manning Academy for quite a while, and so Peyton probably put his touch, or Eli put his touch on that, but he's a lot more athletic, obviously. Peyton wasn't, he's probably a 5'5" guy when he ran a 40, and whereas Trevor is probably going to be that 4'6" guy. In fact, he had a 75-yard touchdown run, in a playoff game a year ago. So he can run. He's a long-legged guy, but I think that, when you go back that far, I think you're going to say, I don't know if he's a top 10 guy, but, he's going to be, in that mix that you're going to like, those. If you're into those big quarterbacks that are really athletic, he's going to fit in because he's more athletic than a Ben Roethlisberger, for instance. Ben was that statuesque guy standing in the pocket and stuff, and say maybe a little more than Phillip Rivers. He's a legit first pick in the draft.
We're talking with Dan Shanka from Ourlads.com here on Ruskin and Zach. So Dan, you guys are all over this draft coverage and got the report coming out and everything. Tell me a guy or two that you've looked at and you really like that maybe isn't getting a lot of attention from some of the other draft people that do this maybe on television. Who's a guy or two that you really like at any position?
Well, we really like Jalen Mayfield. Mayfield didn't work. He's the offensive tackle from Michigan, and he didn't, work out athletically as well as I would have liked to see him. So, he may end up sliding in that second round area. I think that Elijah Moore, obviously from Mississippi, he's going to be a real explosive guy. Another guy that we kind of like, maybe better than other people, is a vertical receiver, though he's not that pitter-patter wide receiver out there, but he can get the arm over and get down the field, is Nico Collins. He was really underused at Michigan. He a vertical receiver. He's really fast. He runs in the 4.4s, about 6'4", 220, and he'd go up after that ball and pluck it away from you. So, he's another one that we really like. I think that a guy like Baron Browning, he's probably not getting as much play, the linebacker from Ohio State. But, again, he's a sideline-to-sideline guy, probably will go in the third round, but makes a lot of plays and is really good in coverage.
Are we looking at sort of an anomaly year where there just aren't a lot of, I don't want to say elite-level defenders, but guys that are in the top 5? I mean, most of the mocks have Patrick Surtain as the first defensive guy off the board. It's a very offensive-heavy draft.
Yeah, it is. I tell you, you're exactly right. It'd be interesting. That's what I'll be interested in, to see who is going to be the first defender taken off the board. And, we've got Patrick Surtain up there too. But I think he's our 6th or 7th rated highest player, but that doesn't mean he'll go there because you take away, those 5 quarterbacks and Pitts. If he gets up there, and I mean, if Pitts slides, that'd be a catastrophe, or whoever gets him is going to really be lucky. But, he's a big-time receiver and maybe, one of the top 2 players in this draft. They talk about 2 tackles, offensive tackles, and, Sewell and Slater. Hey, and then, but Micah Parsons, Mike slip in the top 10, the linebacker from Penn State, or Surtain. Those 2 probably got the best shot of getting in the top 10 of any of the other defenders.
What do you make of Kyle Pitts? There's a lot. Is he Travis Kelce? He's not a true inline tight end. He's a big wide receiver, but there seems to be a lot of buzz about him. Jerry Jones is in love with this guy. Is somebody going to make a move to go get him?
They may, because what you want to do when you're drafting that high, guys, you want to make sure that you take, you get a Hall of Fame or annual Pro Bowl caliber player, and that's what he is. And so I think that somebody could make that move up, but, he may end up lasting till 10. It's just because of all these other positions that are so coveted, like the quarterbacks and maybe these other receivers. But I would look at him as a weapon, and I might take him maybe after Chase, maybe after Devontae, or probably ahead of Devontae. I could very well put him at the sixth guy, maybe after those quarterbacks.
Talking with Dan Shanka from Ourlads.com here on Russ Good & Sack. Well, we were talking a minute ago about defense. A guy from Arkansas, Jonathan Marshall, is going to be probably a day 3 guy. What do you make of him?
Yeah, I tell you, I really like him. He's like a linebacker that plays inside that nose tackle, the shade. Really a good football player. And that's kind of where we got him, that 4th, 5th round area. An inside pressure player. He'll probably play in a rotation early. A lot of Arkansas defenders, the interior defensive guys, end up playing in the league. You remember Dietrich Wise, for instance. Wise has been a really good football player. He plays that rotation up at New England and things. And, there's just guys all over the league, and I think that Marshall's going to be another one of those guys that physically can handle it inside. And he's good in the shade. He can penetrate. He's a chaos player. He gets up the field and makes things happen, forces plays deep, and can run plays down laterally. So he's a good football player, and we like him a lot.
What do you make of Devontae Smith? 170 pounds. That's awfully light for a guy that's, that he can't play outside. He's clearly going to be a slot receiver.
Yeah, he's got to play inside, I think. Now, you could switch him once in a while, put him outside and send him deep and what have you. But, yeah, he's gonna have problems with those big defensive backs. And I think that, that's another thing that the teams are looking at, that he can be a scrappy guy and all that and jump and be able to pluck a ball. But you know what? There's guys on the other side, the best defensive backs in the world. They're 6'1", and about 205 pounds. They're going to beat him up.
Is there? Let me take the other side of the coin, Dan, from a question I asked you earlier. Is there a guy or two that everybody else loves that your service is looked at and you're like, probably a little overrated by some of the other services out there?
Well, I think again it's going to depend on physicals and change of the position and things like that. But, guys, it scares me when guys move up, and you probably saw him too, but Davis, the linebacker from Kentucky, he was, productive this year. But, man, some people got him shooting in the first round and things, and I just don't really see that being up that high. So I think that Marco Wilson, we do like athletically and everything, but he did not really make a big impact, say, for instance, at Florida. But, he was a good football player, but I don't know that he's going to warrant, real high in the draft. But, I keep hearing movement about him. Tyson Campbell, the big defensive back at Georgia. Well, Stokes actually is a better athlete, runs faster, and is every bit as big as he is. But a lot of people like Campbell better than they do Stokes. So there's a few nuggets for you.
How about Jamar Chase? Didn't play last year at LSU. Interesting case study in the guy that took the year off, and, he's still projected to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, he is, and he's worthy of that. I wanted to see him, what he did this past year in regards to working out and things like that. Did he come into his pro day, and was he ready to play, and was he in good shape? And, man, was he. His hands looked as great as ever. My only deal with Chase is his blocking, and you're not getting paid to block, but you like to see him at least give a little effort getting in the way, down the field a little bit. But when you throw the ball his way, man, it's going to be his. He goes up. It's not 50-50. It's probably going to be more like 85-90-10 if it's going his way.
I want to ask you about a player, and this is selfish, and I'm probably going to get fined for asking you this, about Jeremiah Owusu out of Notre Dame. We're starting to see players like him who start as big safeties, dropping down into the box, putting some weight on, playing defense. Is this the way the NFL's going, where you're starting to see guys that can put the weight on, play that linebacker spot instead of the traditional 250-pounders?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. As when you see games on Sunday, the base defense is a 4-2-5. So you got to have those two linebackers that can cover and run on the inside. And some teams aren't too worried about playing that the Dick Butkus, Ray Nitschke, big inside thumpers that's going to kill you in the run game, because teams aren't, that isn't the way they run the ball anymore. They're not lining up, with that fullback and coming right at you and all that business, where you got to, take them on and the fullback the linebacker takes on the fullback on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and there's a big collision. But no, you're exactly right. You got to have a guy that can walk out, play in the slot. JOK can do that. He can run down the field, play the ball in the air, but he's not a big guy either. I mean, he's only about 6'1", about 223, 224, something like that, the last workout. And but those guys are the ones that are kind of making more noise than as long as they can run. If they can really run and cover, they're going to be in that 4-2 scheme.
All right, you can go to ourlads.com, OURLADS.com, and get your draft preview and everything there on ourlads.com. Dan Shanka, our guest. Dan, thank you so much for the insight. We really enjoyed the conversation.
You bet, you guys. Go Hogs.
All right, thank you. There you go. Dan Shanka with us.
Should have gotten him to say, "Give me the Hogs."
On Ruskin and Zach. Well, I didn't prompt him. Missed opportunity.
I could have done that all day, by the way. We could have held him over, and I could have just peppered him with questions.
Now, I have a selfish question.
Yeah,
here.
go ahead.
Are we getting our free Our Lads draft guides out of this
Yes,
again?
we are.
Okay, good. Because that thing was about 500
And it was
pages.
awesome, wasn't it? It was awesome.
It was thorough. Yeah.
No,
That's how Mel used to do it before he sold to ESPN.
Yep.
He'd have that whole book with everything in there.
Yeah, he said he'd send me the PDF. So
right.
I will take care of you on that.